All right. So yesterday we practiced what we had learned the day before on Tuesday about line segments and their measures in circles. So we talked about chords and chords intersecting, secants and tangents intersecting. Now we're just going to focus about two special cases about tangent lines. So look here, this should be the 8th thing in your notebook. 8th item in your notebook. Really? Should be the 8th item in your notebook. All right, so just to review, a tangent line, this is your vocabulary term. It's a line that intersects a circle in exactly one point. Okay? So since it only intersects in exactly one point, it's going to be perpendicular with the radius at the point of intersection. Sometimes that is called the point of tangency. Okay, so this just means, basing this off your definition of perpendicular, they form a right angle. Okay, so in this example, CP is the radius, XY is a tangent line. And that makes, since they intersect together, then that would make those right angles. So CPX and CPY are right angles. Okay, so if you remember back before Christmas, we focused on right triangles. So now we can look at right triangles in circles to find maybe missing radii, missing parts of a triangle. So find BC. Okay, so I know that AC is tangent to the circle and BC is my radius, so I know that that forms a right angle. A right triangle, I can use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know that c in the Pythagorean theorem is always my hypotenuse, which is across from my right angle. So I know that 13 is going to be my c, and that leaves 12. It's supposed to be a plus. So remember, squared just means it's times by itself. So a squared plus 12 times 12 is 144 equals 13 times 13, which is 169. I want to get this by itself, so I'm going to subtract, do the opposite of adding 144 by subtracting 144. And I'm left with a squared equals 25. Now to undo a squared, I'm going to take the square root, and that leaves me at a equals 5, which is the measure of BC. All right, next problem. Determine if the line EF is tangent to circle D. So if it's tangent, then it's going to form a right angle with radius. Okay? 9 is my radius, so I know that there should be a right angle there if it's tangent. If it's a right angle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared would be true. I'm just putting a question mark over that because I want to prove that. So I don't know that they're equal yet. I want to see if they're equal. So I'm just going to plug values 9, 12, and 15 into A, B, and C to see if they are equal. So I know that across from my right angle is my hypotenuse, which is C. So 15 squared is 9 squared plus 12 squared, possibly. So 9 times 9 is 81, 12 times 12 is 144. 15 times 15 is 225. 81 and 144 is 225. So yes, that is true. So yes, EF is tangent to circle D. All right, second fact about tangent lines. If they intersect at the same point outside the circle, then they are congruent. And remember that congruent things have same size, same shape. So that means they're going to have equal measures. Okay? All right, so in this example, RS and TS, so these two lines here, are tangents. Since they both intersect at point S, and that point is outside the circle, then RS is going to be congruent to TS. See the little tick marks? That means they're congruent. So CB, let's look at an example. CB and CD are both tangents. They intersect at C outside the circle, so I know that CB is going to be congruent to CD. And we want to find X. So if CB is congruent to CD, then I know that 3X plus 5 has to be equal to 14. So I want to find X. That means I need to isolate this part. In order to get that by itself, I want to do the opposite of adding 5 by subtracting 5. That gives me 3X equals 9. 3X is the same as 3 times X. So I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication and divide. And I'm left with X equals 3. That was my goal, to find X. Done with that problem. Okay. All right. Again, AD and AB are both tangent to circle C. They're tangent lines. They intersect at a point outside. So I know that AD is got to be congruent to AB. If that's true, then 5X minus 8 has to equal 2X plus 7. All right, so when I have two different variables on both sides of the equal sign, I'm going to move them over and combine them first. So since it's on the opposite side of the equal sign, I have to do the opposite, so I'm going to subtract 2X. I'm left with 3X minus 8 equals 7. I want to isolate this X part by adding 8, and I'm left with 3X equals 15. Divide by 3, and I'm left with X equals 5. Now look back over here. Our goal was to find AD. So I am not done. So AD is equal to 5X minus 8. X is 5, so I'm going to do 5 times 5 minus 8. That's 25 minus 8. That gives me 17. A way I could check this is I could also plug X back into here and get 2 times 5 plus 7. That's 10 plus 7. That's 17. That's correct. That's just a way to check your work. This is just checking our work. So, we've learned two different scenarios. If they tangent and they intersect outside, then they're going to be equal. The other case is it's perpendicular. So there's two different cases. They're not really related, but it's just two special relationships that tangent lines have with other parts of the circle. So, down here, you're going to do these three on your own, and I will review these with you when I get back. So just as a hint, AB is tangent to circle C. So if they're tangent, I know that's a right angle. That forms a right triangle. So I'm going to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared to find that. This one over here. This is also determine if they're tangent. If they're tangent, I'm going to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared. and I have to determine if they are actually equal. And then this one, they are tangent to circle A. They intersect outside, so I know that CB is going to be congruent to CD. So that means those two have to be equal. Okay, so solve those. You're going to find R. You're going to find R, you're going to find X, and then you're just going to see if that holds true for that triangle. Okay? So, when you finish those, you have an assignment on quizzes. It is on Google Classroom. And you need to make at least an 80% on it. Okay? So, make sure you're looking at your notes. Make sure you're actually learning the material. I'm confident in y'all. Y'all can do this. Hope y'all have a great day.